Hey guys, Tarke here, and giving my Day 3 update on Tarke Catamancer, the Soulrend character. Queen of the Forest now, 5-link action. Still no Devouring Diadem. Devouring Diadem's taking much longer to get than I thought it would, which has made my respec skill tree feel really scuffed. I've updated paste bins, which I'll leave in the description, of how your tree should be routed. Don't expect to get Devouring Diadem anytime soon. I was expecting Marstone to be a lot more common than it was. That changes how I feel about this build a little bit. Either get EB on the tree, or do a hybrid Mind Over Matter set like Wagglers, or go CI version. Or do what I'm doing and just pray that Devouring Diadem drops eventually. So, how am I enjoying Bane on a 5-link? I am loving it on a 5-link. How am I feeling about Queen of the Forest? Queen of the Forest is feeling pretty good. I still need like an extra 1k evasion to be positive movement speed with no Flasks up. With my Flasks up, I have 37k evasion. Easy ways of getting evasion is having like a 200 plus energy shield helmet because of Escape Artist. That gives a lot of evasion right there. And then obviously Flasks and so on and so forth. When it comes to Flasks, make sure you roll your Jade Flask of Reflexes to get more evasion on that slot. Make sure you're running a Stib Knight for another multiplier and the Blind. And then I'm using an Onslaught Flask. That could be subbed out. That's like your optional Flask slot. That I would swap out for a Dying Sun, ideally, if I had one. But obviously I don't. And then you'd get Onslaught either through new crafts, or Onslaught and kill jewels, or a weird Onslaught cast on damage taken, or something kind of like that. Have I had any issues with single target? No. What's the highest map I've done? Tier 13 with like 3-player HP, because we're all sharing completion with one another. I've done a memory frag boss, but it was low level, so that wasn't anything really going on there. But still not struggling. I think pure Soulrend will be perfectly viable. That being said, I've had a lot of questions. What's better? Is Bane better? Is Soulrend better? How to build it? Soulrend and Bane are very different gameplays and very different builds. So if you prefer the gameplay of one, play that. They scale very similarly, but the playstyle is fundamentally different. So for example, if you're playing a pure Bane build, you probably don't have that much like crazy cast speed investment, and you probably haven't invested into skill effect duration that much because you don't need to. So you wouldn't use Soulrend to supplement a Bane build, but you would use Bane to supplement a Soulrend build. So what I mean by that is Betrayal talks over me for this whole map. So I currently only use Bane on bosses for extra, turn the dialogue down because it's going to keep popping up. I use Bane on bosses for just extra damage, and otherwise I ignore it. I would really like to have an Essence Drain set up somewhere, either in a trigger-socketed spell, or maybe a Hungry Loop, or Delirium-crafted gloves. Even just like a 4-link one would be perfect, but 4 or 5-link Essence Drain, just to get a little bit more supplementary damage, would be kind of decent. But yeah, you just spam Soulrend, and that is the single target. Since people keep asking me, how do I do single target on this build? That's literally it. So, on the note of gloves, one very important stat that a lot of people won't be aware of because they didn't play dot builds last league. Last league, they introduced a new Elder stat, the Chaos Overtime Multiplier, which you can get on gloves and amulet up to 16%. It's very rare. It takes a couple of thousand alterations to hit it. Like, it's very, very rare. I spent most of last league trying to craft it for my Corsair character, but that's what your ideal set of gloves would be. Some kind of like Essence of Delirium, Elder crafted gloves with the more damage over time multiplier and all that stacking, and you'd shove a Bane or an Essence Drain or something in there to supplement your Soulrend. So if you're like, okay, but Tarke, why don't you just use like a 6-link Cane of Unraveling then? Because then you can have 6-link Essence Drain and Cane and 6-link Soulrend and Chest. Isn't that perfect? Cane of Unraveling is a okay start item. It's quite easy to craft better items than Cane. So because of that, I don't feel that confident about 6-linking a random start item. There's lots of items you can use. The same thing I feel about Cherubim. A lot of people say, we'll use Cherubim Chest. I don't think Cherubim Chest is that good. You can easily have a better chest, and I wouldn't want to invest a whole bunch of fuses at the start of the league in trying to 6-link it. I'd much rather spend currency trying to 6-link a Queen of the Forest, or a Perfect Form, or a Kintsugi, which are the 3 chess pieces that I'd mostly recommend for this build. Queen of the Forest if you want to go really fast, Kintsugi or Perfect Form if you want defense. Yeah, don't 6-link random shitty weapons. If you want to try and craft a plus level bow or craft a plus level staff, get a good base that you know that you can craft to its fullest potential. 6-link that, and then you can make like a okay-ish starter version, then you can recraft it later. Don't spend all your currency 6-linking not that great unique. Just my personal opinion. If you're one of those guys who totally doesn't RMT, happens to log in with perfect gear, sure, 6-link a Cane of Unraveling, but in my opinion, not worth doing. So, that's kind of that on the gearing things. One other small thing, Witchfire Brew, people ask me about it all the time. Personally, I really dislike Witchfire Brew as a flask. I think it's really overrated. And the reasons why I dislike it is it only gives you a Despair Blasphemy in a small area around your character. It also means that you lose that on a unique mod, which means you can't run like a Dying Sun or something instead. Now, the thing is you don't need Despair while map clearing. You only want like curses like that on bosses for additional boss damage. So the times that you'll want the damage, you won't have the flask active. So that's why I don't really see the point there, because it's like, when you really want it, bosses. When will you not have 100% locked with your flask? Bosses. So what's the point? Much rather just have it linked into a Bane or something. And there you go, you don't need to worry about it. Dying Sun, 100% though. That's something you really want to invest into as soon as you can get one realistically on this kind of a build. And then if you want to run like Blasphemies, you could use either in Presence or... ooh, I didn't realize I had an Opal, that's nice. Either in Presence or a Solstice Vigil. That's one way of doing it. So, let's run one more map and then I'll talk about some memory frag stuff. Just show that in there. On the Synthesized thing, people ask, like, what am I doing with Synthesized stuff? I'm stockpiling all of my Synthesized items. I haven't worked out the recipe lists yet. Someone will have a recipe list. So, if you stockpile everything, wait till someone like Carve or Octavian works it out, then just jump onto it early, and then you're like, haha, we're smart, make your money then, and you haven't wasted everything away. So, yes. When it comes to crafting wands, your ideal wand stats would be non-chaos over time multiplier. It's by far the most important stat. This is another reason why I like dual wield over using like a staff or something. So if I remember correctly, Cane of Unraveling rolls up to 55% and then plus 2 chaos. You can get 40% non-multi, non-chaos, non-ailment chaos multiplier on one wand. So you can get 80% on 2 wands. And then you can also craft chaos damage, skill effect duration, 2 multi-modded or just half decent rares will out DPS a Cane of Unraveling substantially, and the amount of currency that you would invest into 6-linking it, just go with rares, like 100%, go with rare ones. Don't buy Breath of the Council. Breath of the Council is not a very good item. You're probably paying a shit ton for it because everyone's playing Bane at the moment. Just no. If you're playing a Bane build, you especially don't need it because you don't need the increased skill effect duration. So, yes. I'm going to show off some memory map stuff after this and show you how I've been progressing memory map, because there's very good ways and very bad ways of doing it. I keep forgetting to drop my Blight Totems. I've also found Blight Totems, I think I prefer them to Wither Totems. You do need to lose 1 jewel, but Wither Totems don't apply Wither for as long as Blight Totems do, and Blight Totems do just a little bit of extra damage, which is kind of nice. I'm not using a Vol Blight, because I feel like I don't need it. I find Vol... Don't fuck up. I find Vol Grace much nicer defensively, and it lets me... I screwed up. It lets me just face tank bosses. I was hoping I'll be able to flame dash through. If you're quick with your flame dashes, you can sometimes skip big sections of the map, and it's also why I much prefer flame dash, like shield charge or anything which isn't flame dash this league. Also another thing which makes one-hand and shield a bit weaker, because you don't really want to be shield charging, so yeah. Fortify is great, but it's not that great in this league, let's be real. Pick up all of this stuff. Yoink, yoink, yoink. Map progression's been going decent. We're in lowish reds. I think I've got 90-ish or so completion. And one thing, I don't think I've actually touched on this much. So a big reason why I prefer Soulrend to Bane is the actual visual feedback. Visual feedback is really important for me when it comes to skills. I like skills where you press the button and you feel it. Bane, this is a very silly complaint. Bane, because it's so instant and because the animation is really smooth, it just doesn't feel like it connects. There's no like connections with it when it hits a mob or anything. Whereas with Soulrend, you get these beautiful tendrils, they home out enemies, it's very visually engaging. So it feels like, yeah, even though there's like automated aiming and it kind of like plays the game for you, it feels like you're actually doing something, if you know what I mean. And that's, I really like that in certain skills. So let's show you how I'm doing my memory frags. Also, nice POB in a global chat, dude. So I've been really building up this long path here. You'll see it's like, but Tarke, it hasn't got any extra mods on it. I ran a boss up here and I've laid this fresh path. So all of these have like 3 uses mostly. One of them has 2 here, but most of this is 3. So this path, I'm not gonna touch. I'm gonna leave this here. And then I'm gonna keep expanding down this way to gain these memories. So if I gain memories anywhere along here, it will, say I had this, right? So let's say that this was connected. I haven't actually got anywhere I can connect into now. So I had that there, and then I had a straight line. If I had like a straight line or a corner, I'm kind of in a bad position. But let's say I connected to all this. It would boost the memory along this entire line through the Nexus and fill in all of this. So my idea is basically to get as many stacks on this as I can as possible, have this super juiced up, and then later run it when I've got like 10, 15 mods stacked onto there, and then get really nice returns. So the main way that you really... oh, boss encounter, I need to run that. The main way that you really get your returns from this setup is looking for what gives cool modifiers. And being like, okay, so what does this give? What does that give? This gives increased quant to items in this area. This will have guest monsters replace synthesized monsters. 1 level higher. Get additional global mod of memories. Pack size. And you just keep boosting it up and then it gets really big. Ziggy does a great video where he talks about how you can relay paths behind you. So the one complaint I do have with the League is sometimes you just don't have good pieces. So here I need a piece which connects all of these 3. I need this reversed. And you sometimes get just a little bit stuck where it's like you can't really go anywhere with the pieces you have. And that sucks a little bit. I guess I could run this into here just to kind of show you what it looks like. And then if I had the right connectors, I could yoink onto that, which I don't. Can I connect onto this one? No. You do get stuck sometimes. I think if you could rotate them round, I think it'd be too broken. But I think if we had a way to delete old ones, or we had a way to carry more, that would possibly be one way around it. I think deleting them is really what we need, because I think rotating them would just make it way too strong. And if we could rotate them round, they would have to nerf the system substantially. And the fun of this system is that you can do very broken things with it. And when you set up the perfect path, you feel like you're breaking the game. And that's good League design, in my opinion. It's like, when something feels like you're cheating, you're like, oh, I did so good there. So this, for example, this is like wiped out. So I can move here, delete it behind me. Right, I can delete this behind me, relay that back there, and then I can like maintain pathways and stuff. And it feels like really cool that you can do that. Press this, tap it again, it's reconnected. And when you relay the paths behind you like that, that's how you extend them in really long directions. So like here, for example, that's how I extended all of that out there, was by relaying paths behind me. So the whole front all has 3 remaining uses. And when you do stuff like that, it's great. Also, make sure for the non-decaying areas that you full clear them. You want to full clear them, they can drop maps. Think of them just as maps. And then it's like, oh, I'm just getting like extra free maps which drop more maps and have really good loot and gain global modifiers the more I do them. Yeah, that's good. They also generally have pretty good layouts. I find these zones, if you have like a Flame Dash or a Blink Arrow or something, which have better layouts than the average yellow map you're going to be doing. Most of you guys are probably like stuck in the 6 to 10 grind, I imagine. And a lot of those have really god-awful layouts. And the fact that you can just blink around is pretty cool. Also, one tip you can do is in one of these, you can purposely run into the like decayed sections to jump back to the start. So you can clear these quite quickly if you need to by like full clearing in one direction and then like jumping into a decay to then teleport back to the start. It's just like a little thing you can do to make these a little bit more efficient. And it also means that you can sometimes jump back to an area that you're not supposed to be able to jump back to by running ahead of it, clearing the zone, and then like jumping back a bit. And that's all important when it comes to like relaying paths behind you and all of that good stuff. It might all sound very like confusing and very overwhelming, but again, it's like a system, the more you play with it, the more it makes sense, the more it just kind of goes, oh, okay. Like this league is very much a, oh, it all clicks in my head moment. Now, unfortunately, I don't have something to reconnect this one, which sucks. So I will end up breaking this path afterwards, but I'll still have that in place there. So. Also, another thing, if you're like, I don't know which direction to go into, you can tell which direction you need to go into based on the grid itself. So I knew the connector was on the left here, because that's the shape of the area. So if you're ever like, oh, I don't know which way to go in these, you just like check the grid, oh, I need to go left. And when you do that, it means you're going to fail these far less often if that's something you are struggling with, which I know some people are a bit like, what do I do? So for this one, I just want to go straight forward, so I'm just going to run it in a straight line forwards. I do try and clear as much of these as I can while running forward, since all the loot does just vacuum back to the start on the decaying zones. And that's another great thing about Soulrend, is that I can just off-screen. Got some maps there, sick. Press the button, it all kind of suctions in. One complaint I do have with this is there's a bit of an annoying bug. I feel like if I get that, I'm going to get kicked out of this area, so I'm going to leave that chrome in the darkness there. Because if I was to run into that decay now, I'd get kicked back a zone, which is not something I want. So I'm just going to leave that chrome away. I find that you can't teleport back to the Nexus and back again, because sometimes your stuff crashes. So you have to do everything on one inventory, which when you do a really long path like this is really problematic. Okay. So for this one, we want to just find the thing. I imagine it's just going to be a straight line forward, maybe. Flame dash through the darkness. Guessing this way up around the middle. Just here, cool. Clear some extra mobs. Yoink back. Get this and see what we get. This will be just like an average one, I imagine. Don't think it'll be anything too special. We got some coins, we got some chaos, not too bad. And yeah, that's kind of like the base idea. So you just want to be like really looking out for the good ones. Relaying paths behind you, building up modifiers, planning it out. Any awkward shapes, you can lay them and then delete them from the starting point. Let's see if I can show you that. Right. So this one, this node here, if I wanted to, I could just right click, delete it. So if you have a really awkward shape, you can like lay it in front of you and then instantly delete it, and that's one way that you can get rid of them. But it's not that efficient. I could also run down this way, but I'm trying to save these mods up a bit. But I'm probably going to end up knocking this path out next and just leave... I'm probably going to end up doing most of my exploring this bottom bit, leaving this open. And one thing you do need to be slightly careful of is blocking yourself in. So let's say that this path had 3 uses remaining. With my current layout, I can never get into here with the current setup, because I need a piece which connects here to here. So you need to be careful that you're not like blocking out good nodes. Like this node here, with my current path, I could never reach it unless I had a corner piece here, which I don't. So watch out what you're doing, think around it, watch the guides, take a while. If you need to get pen and papers, make notes. But anyway, I'm Tarke. Soulrend feels great, by the way. Have a good day. Bye-bye.